Life is notoriously filled with what we call package deals. For example, you might find some amazing piece of property, and by amazing I mean the price in relation to the space, but it could be in a criminal or very neglected neighborhood. Or alternatively, this property could be on a beachfront, in which case there might be extremely elevated risk of hurricanes, for which you, of course, might have to take out a particular type of insurance policy. So the house might be great, the weather might be most of the time great, but there are certain attendant risks. And in this case, it's a package deal that you would also have to take out the insurance policy. Or you might be on the lookout for a canine companion, and you like certain breeds. And usually when you're looking at certain breeds, you go by the aesthetics first. Not necessarily always the case, but usually. And you think, man, those Shiba Inus look so cool. They look like little foxes. But then you read later that they're extremely difficult to train, extremely stubborn, recalcitrant, and just a pain in the ass in general, despite what they might look like. And they are not nearly as easily trained as, say, a Labrador Retriever or a Border Collie. But you really like the appearance. So you want that little fox-like Shiba Inu, but you're going to have to pay the price in other areas, and so on and so forth. Like, life is filled with these sorts of things. Now let me first say that this video is primarily conceived for younger men who are in their prime, so to speak, although not exclusively. I say this because the type of things I'm going to be talking about, the type of package deals as they relate to women and dating and everything involving that, they're typically things that younger men are more likely to fall for and not think about. But, on the other hand, there are plenty of older men that never learn their lessons here. So, in contrast to the other examples I mentioned, selecting a dog breed or buying a piece of property, there's certain other issues that attend the matter of quote-unquote partner selection or dating, especially when you're young. Because when you're young, you're in the prime of your life, you are driven by your hormones. That is a huge, huge factor, perhaps the biggest factor. And these hormones are going to mislead you. So let me start with an anecdote from my own life to perhaps spare you a similar episode in your own life, and we'll proceed from there. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I had my first quote-unquote long-term relationship. Lasted about 3 years. And I can tell you the single most important factor that drew me into it. This particular female that I was involved with at the time had massive, and I do mean massive, kahangas, massive jugosauri, huge, huge gazankas. And me being more of a gazankas jugosauri type of guy as opposed to a gluteus maximus type of guy, I fell for it. And as it happens, it also turned out later that she sucked a mean dick, and that added to that picture as well. Now, I spent, to give you a short synopsis, nearly 3 years of my life trying to justify the decisions I made to enter into this relationship merely because of mounds of fat on this female's chest and the fact that she was bestially good in bed. And a more minor factor was the fact that she could cook really well. There was, retrospectively, not much else redeeming about her. But I stayed with her up until a certain point. Eventually I tried to get out. She wouldn't tolerate it, yada, yada, yada. She went after me. Long story. But it was a perfect instance of how young men in their prime can be led astray by a variety of things. Things that are syncing with your instincts, with your very, very primal instincts. And men of all ages, particularly young men, will rationalize and justify their decisions to be together with certain females precisely because of that. Oh, they look so good. Their tits are so nice, whatever. Never once pausing during this time to question whether or not they actually like the person. I mean, as a person, somebody you actually want to spend time with, get along with. Because I can assure you that's vanishingly rare in most cases. It's a ritual, essentially, especially when you're young. You find some female that's appealing, that looks good. Maybe you like her tits, maybe you like her ass, maybe she sucks a mean cock, maybe all of the above, who knows? And most of the time you spend with her is dealing with her BS, waiting for your turn to stick your pee-pee in her vajayjay, tolerating all the BS, and then waiting your turn until you can stick your pee-pee in her vajayjay again. Rinse and repeat. Ad nauseum. That is what most, particularly young relationships look like. Just an exchange of hormones. Think about your own relationships in the past, or the ones you're currently in, or the others you've observed. Realize quite quickly that you don't actually like your girlfriend half the time. It's just that the hormones and those primeval drives are compelling you to do certain things. Now that's the physical. But there are other elements here too. You see, there's a very interesting phenomenon that occurs with men when they find a female that, for example, most prominently, partakes of a particular hobby that they enjoy and have done for quite some time. Maybe it's a video game. Maybe the female plays World of Warcraft and she's reasonably competent at that. Maybe she likes RPGs. Maybe she's into going to the gym, whatever it might be. This then supplements an added layer of self-deception. Because in addition to whatever physical attraction might be there, leading you astray and thinking that you actually get along with a person when in your mind, in your heart of hearts, you don't, you hyper-focus, particularly as a young guy, on this commonality, this seeming commonality. So she's into World of Warcraft, ignore all the other insanity. She looks really good and she's into World of Warcraft and she goes to the gym. Well, that's amazing. But the package deal, ultimately, is that, for the most part, you're going to have to deal with a whole lot of BS in order to partake of the few good things that you use to justify your presence in that relationship in the first place. And it's really funny in a certain way, because these qualities that men enshrine in women, the participation in certain hobbies, those would be near givens in any male friendship. But you would never think to elevate that particular hobby or his participation in the hobby to the point where you think it's amazing. But that's the psychology involved here, gentlemen. That's the issue. That if you transpose that hobby or that inclination to a woman, well, all of a sudden she's amazing. Because, let's be honest, the reality is, behind the hush whispers, that men and women don't really get along particularly well. They try to make it work. And so when you see a woman who really likes your hobby or ostensibly shares an interest, you go gaga for that because it's so bloody rare, on top of all the physical stuff. So it's all a package deal, ultimately. And I'm not trying to discourage men from dating or engaging in relationships, especially young men. In fact, that experience might be very valuable. It might be even essential to realize some of these things. But as you approach these things, or even as you are already in a relationship, think about what you actually like about the female you're involved with. I mean, real things, not the way she winks at you, or the subtleties of how she moves her eyebrow, or the fact that her tits are so big that you can get lost in them. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you like that stuff. But beyond that, what is it that you actually like about her? Okay, maybe she plays World of Warcraft. Maybe she plays Counter-Strike, although I doubt she plays it well. What's so amazing about that? You probably have half a dozen friends who do that and share other hobbies with you. You see, if you're doing that and thinking how amazing these things are, whether it's physical, mental, ethereal, whatever, you're engaging in post hoc rationalization. You're potentially trying to tell yourself that however bad she might be in other aspects, however horrific her behavior might be, all that other stuff justifies you being together with her. Now again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I never have been and I never will be. But I would encourage you to reflect upon this and think about some of what's going on here. Is it an unfortunate package deal, or are you ignoring the other elements, the other components of the package in your relationship? And as for older guys, they should know better, but a lot of them don't. I have to think of the musician Phil Collins. I think he went through 4, possibly 5 divorces. Some guys never learn. But you being a young man do have these opportunities to think about this stuff, and think about it long and hard. It's always a package deal. And you might think the fun bags are amazing, but they will get old, both literally and figuratively. And even if she does share your hobby, as I pointed out earlier, there are literally millions of other guys who share your hobbies. It's just you don't want to fuck them. That's the primary difference. And it's something to think about. Don't let yourself get bogged down in a bad situation where you're trying to justify to yourself the reasons why you're participating in this bad situation, even though the reasons are not particularly good. Should I have stayed together with my ex many moons ago for nigh on 3 years just because she had big jugosori, sucked a mean dick, and could cook? Absolutely not. And I should have gotten out much, much earlier than that. But nobody was telling me this stuff. And you in your youth, you have the opportunity to think about these things. You have the internet, you have YouTube. These are things to consider, especially if you take into consideration the potentially dangerous prospect of engaging with women in today's day and age. Consider the package deal. It's always a package deal with women, far more so than with any other interaction you'll have in life. And whether or not you want to deal with that and put up with that ultimately, well, that decision rests on your shoulders, not mine. Anyway, gentlemen, you have a pleasant remaining week. If I'm still alive, I'll check you out later. And as always, may the gods watch over you. Bye. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.